Welcome to Mr. Holloway's Foundational Python series. In this video we're going to talk about Python modules. These are the built-in modules. In a previous video I discussed the custom modules and actually how to make and import a module and use it. In this case we're going to be discussing some of the built-in modules that are available in Python. But before we get started, go ahead and if you like the video, go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe. And class is now in session. Let's get started. Okay, so in order for us to use a module, we need to import it. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to do an import, and I'm going to say random. This is the first one we want to use, so random. Now, I want you to think of import statements in comparison to a toolbox. So think about a toolbox where you have a set of tools that you use all the time. So let's say you use the screwdriver, the hammer, right, a drill. You use those all the time. But then you have other tools that you may not use all the time. So you may have a chainsaw or something like that, right? Something that you're not going to use all the time. Well, the import statement, what it does, it imports tools that you can use, but you may not need them all the time, and so that's why we use the import statement. And in this case, we're going to basically create some random numbers. And so the first thing I want to show you in random, so the random is the module, and then we're going to use some of the functions in there. Okay, so let's say we want to print a random number from, let's say, from 0 to 10, or 0 to 10. Okay, so what we could do is we could say print. We're going to say random, so we're going to actually call the module random, and I'm going to say dot. Now, dot is going to make available in the code hinting. If we just kind of go up and down here, it gives me all of the functions that are available. I want to use something called rand range, so I already know what it is. So I'm going to say rand range. It's not right. Rand range. Okay, and now in here, as you can see, we have an error right now, and the reason why is because we need to put in some arguments. And so I'm going to put in 0 and 11. Okay, so now we have our random module. We're using the random function, and we're going to go ahead and run. And notice that every time I run it, I get a random number. Okay. Now, instead of clicking this and just, going through this manually, I'm going to put all of this inside of a for loop, and then we're just going to run the for loop and look at the output that we get, just to make it a little easier, so I don't have to click that every time. So I'm just going to say for x in range, and we're going to run this. Let's run it 100 times. Okay, so we're going to run that. And so now what this is going to do, and I do have, if you're not familiar with for loops, at this point you should be, but if you're not, or you need a refresher, I do have a video on for loops which I'll put in the description. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this, and notice when we run, we get all of these numbers. So these are the random numbers that are returned. And so notice that out of 100 times, we get all of these different numbers. And so that's what the random range does. Okay, a rand range does. Let's do another one. So what I want to do is I'm going to get rid of this. Actually, yeah, let's get rid of this for now, and then I'm just going to comment the one line out. So I'll comment this out so you can still have the code there. All right, so the next thing I want to do is let's randomly select an item from a list. There's ways we can do that, but Python makes it easy for us. And so first thing, let's just come up with a list. So I'm going to say colors. I'm just going to put some colors in here. So I'm going to say red, blue, green, and we'll do yellow. Okay, so now we have our actually, let me move this up top. So now we have a list. Actually, I'll leave this on the bottom. Okay, so now we have a list, and then let's go ahead and print. And what we're going to do is we're going to print, and we're going to take a random item out of that list. And so let's do random, because we're going to call the module, and then we're going to use the choice. Okay, so the choice function, and then we're going to throw in colors as an argument. Okay, so let's go ahead and run. So we get red, we get yellow, and again we can do the same thing with this. Is we can actually throw this in a for loop. So I could say for x in a range, and we could run it 100 times. Let's see what this looks like, and let's run it. And so here's the randomness of this. Here's the result of running the choice function. All right, so that's random. Let's move on to datetime. If you are interested, if you're interested in just learning more about all of the functions that are available, you can go to the Python documentation. And mind you, if you're not accustomed to looking at documentation, it can be intimidating. I'm going to actually do a video on documentation, but this is where you can learn about the random module, and so it tells you everything you need to know. So let's look at the one that we use. We use the range, and it tells us some other ways we can use it actually with one argument. We can use it with two arguments, and then we use the random dot choice, and it says return a random element from a non-empty sequence, and our sequence that we used was a list. And it says if sequence is empty, it raises an index error. Let's actually test that out. Let's get rid of the for loop, and we're going to make this empty, because the documentation says that if it's empty we should get an error. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so let me clear this and we'll run, and there it is. We get an index error because the index is out of range, and according to the documentation it says, where are we here? So it says if sequence is empty, it raises an index error. All right, so again, that's just one way of learning more about a module if you need to use them. And as you can see, there's a number of these functions in here that you can use. It just depends on what you're actually doing. All right, so again, it's kind of like the toolbox analogy, where you have a bunch of tools. You don't use them all the time, but hey, there may be something in here that you could use. Okay, let's move on to datetime. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just replace this, and I'm going to comment these out. And since we're getting so many, we're going to have a bunch of these. I'm just going to go ahead and put everything in a multi-line comment, so I don't have to comment these as I go. We'll just put everything in this here. All right, so we're going to move on to datetime. All right, now for the datetime, we actually have to import just a little differently. And so what we need to do is we need to say from datetime, so from the module, we want to import a specific, let me see, some specific code here. So I'm going to say datetime, datetime. All right, so now that we have the import statement here, now we're ready to go. So the first thing I want to do is let's just find out the time now. So I'm going to say let's call this current underscore time, and we'll say that is equal to datetime dot now. So we're calling the now function in the datetime module, and we're going to say print current time. Okay, so this, with 2 lines of code, we're able to print the time. And notice how we get the time. We get the year, the month, the day, the hours, these minutes, and then we have the seconds and milliseconds. Now it's pretty interesting. We can actually format this how we want, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so let me see. Actually, let's just add this here. So I'll just say plus. Let's see if this works. I haven't done this print. Let's see if we get an issue with this. We want to say time. All right, so let me just see what is going on. Oh, you need a matching. All right, so we have matching. Oh, so we get a little error here. So how can I fix that? How can I fix that? Well, it's just not supported. Actually, let me just go ahead and just make it easy. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm just entering the second argument. It's going to convert everything into a string. And all right, so we have the time. All right, now another one I'd like to show you is just how we can format the dates, the times, the years, and different things. And if you notice here, let's say we didn't want all of this information here. Let's just say we wanted just some of the information. What I can do is I could say we're going to format this time, so I will call it formatted time, and then I'm going to set this equal to the current time. And there's a function called strf time, so strf time. And then as an argument, I'm going to put in something that's going to look a little strange, but let me just show you. So I'm going to go Y for year. We'll do M. We'll do let me see. Well, we'll do day. Okay, so all right. Take this out. Okay. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and run. And we don't get anything because I didn't print it out. So actually, let's print it out. So I'm going to say print. We'll call this formatted time. And then we'll put formatted time variable in there as an argument. And we'll spell print correctly. We'll go ahead and run. And notice here we get, that looks strange. Let me fix that. So this has the year. Let's fix that. Okay, so I do have a mistake. Let me, because that didn't look right. So I'm going to actually make this lowercase. And then I think that should get me what I want. Okay, so yeah, so we have formatted time, we have the year, the month, and the day. Now, there's just by putting the percentage sign and then the Y dash percentage time M dash percentage time D will get us this format. Let's look at some other formats that we can use. All right, so let's say, actually, no, let's say we only wanted the year. I could just take that away and I could put the year, and then we get 2023. I could actually just do, the formatting for H. I think that will give me the hour. Let's see what that returns to us. So yeah, 06 is the hour, which is not the time zone I'm in, but I will say that if you're using this in a project, you have to make sure that it accounts for the time zone that you're in as well. Let's look at what that would look like if I do a capital I. So this should give us the 12-hour clock, 06. So it doesn't matter because after 12, it doesn't matter until after 12. So it's not going to show the difference in this case. But that is pretty much the date time. I would encourage you, if you need to use this, to explore the Datetime module. There's plenty of things in here, but that's just a taste of it. So we're going to move on to the math class. And before we do that, let me just go ahead and clean this up. I'm going to throw all of the old code in here, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about the math class. Now with the math class, we don't have to do another import statement, so we could do this, but we don't need to. We can just use a comma here up top. So we're going to keep this one, but we can just do comma, and then we can just import math. Because we're importing, we can just use one line. Makes your code a little bit more efficient. Now the math class is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to show two functions. Again, if you want to go back and look at some of the functions you may need, you may have a specific need for those, you can go back and look at the math class or math module as well. So let's go ahead and use the square root. So I'm going to say I want to do the square root. So I'm going to say math.sqrt, and we're going to say what is the square root of 81, and we're going to print that, and we get 9.0. Notice that it returns 9.0, which is a float, which is just something that it just does. It's built into the class where it's going to return a float. Okay, so the next function I want to try out is the power. So we're going to say the power. So we want to take, let's say 4 to the power of 2. Okay, so the pow function should give us 16.0. And so that is just the math module. Again, something that if you want to use it, you can. But we're going to move on to the calendar module. Pretty interesting module here. All right, so in order for us to use this, we just have to do import calendar. And again, we could simply do that. We can put them all on separate lines, but we're not going to do that here. Okay, we just want to keep everything on one line. All right, so the calendar module is pretty useful in certain situations where you need a calendar. So I'm going to say calendar, and in this case, what I want to do is I want to print just a month. So I want to print the month of a specific year. So I'm going to say month, and then I'm going to choose the year. So I'll say 2024, and let's say month 4, which would be April. So we're going to go ahead and print that out. And there we go. So this would show us the calendar for April of 2024. This is really pretty useful, again, whenever you need it. Let's do another one. So let's say print. I want to do calendar, and let's say I want to do calendar for dot calendar, and I say 2024. Looks good. Cancel that, and we get all of 2024. So that's a pretty good one as well. If you want to, let's go back to 1776 and see what that yields. So this is what the days and months look like in 1776. I think I have to double check that one. All right. Anyway, and then let's check if something is a leap year. So there's a useful function here, and we can check to see if 1 year was a leap year. So I could say calendar dot is leap, and I can just put in the year. So let's say it's 2024 a leap year. It should return true or false, and true. So it is a leap year. All right, so that's it. So that's it for the calendar module. I'm going to show you one more. It's called colorama, and let's jump into it. Let me clean this up. Throw all of this here, and we'll jump into colorama. Okay, so for colorama, what we need to do is this. Basically, if we want to have our our output in colors. So let me show you. It's fairly straightforward. Again, not something you're going to use all the time, but may be helpful. Now we're going to have to import this, and we're going to have to import this in a different way because there's some things out of here that we just want some attributes that we need, which are very similar to variables. So I'm going to say import. I'm going to say from colorama. So I'm going to, from the module, I want you to import. We want the for, we want back, and we'll stop at that. Okay. So what we can do is we're going to say print, and we're going to say for dot red, and red is a constant, so it's capitalized, and we'll say plus, and then we'll say hello world. Okay. So what this is simply going to do is it's just going to make this text red, and there it is. All right. We can also do print. We can do the background as well. So I could say back dot. Let's make it green, and then we'll say plus. Good night, world. All right. So we're just going to have that. Actually, let me see. What does that do? Let's see. Okay, so we still have red text, but we have a green background. All right, and then if we wanted to reset it, we can actually just do the reset all. So let me show you. So let me just say print style, and I'm gonna have to go ahead and grab this here. So let me we want to grab this functionality here. So we're going to say style dot reset all, and you notice as I type I get code hinting, and what this will do is reset basically all of the colors back. So if I say print, I'm just going to say hello world again. Oh, and that is not right. Make this print, and you'll notice this will be back to the normal color, which should be white. All right, so again we have red, we have red text with the green background, and then everything was reset using this reset function here. So that's pretty much it. So these are Python modules. Again, they're like a toolbox. There are some tools that you use all the time, and then there's tools that you may need for very specific occasions. There's probably hundreds. I don't know, there's maybe thousands, but there's a lot of modules out there. You can create your own, but these are just some of the ones that I wanted to show you. So if you felt this video was helpful, give it a like, please subscribe, tell a friend, and comment. And I will see you in the next video. Class is now dismissed.